Court is now in session, Tuesday, November 7th, 2023 at 9 a.m. Commissioner Bullock, would you introduce that motion?
Good morning. Today we have Darren Donaldson with Fellowship Baptist to lead us in the invocation. Welcome.
Thank you. Let's pray. Our Heavenly Father, we are grateful to you for the grace and mercy that you have extended to us and your Son Jesus Christ for dying on the cross for our sins and then conquering death by his own resurrection. Father, we live in the hope that one day we too will be with you in heaven. But until then, Lord, we ask that you would give us faithfulness, that you would give us strength, that we may perform the task that is ahead of us. We ask that you would give this Commissioner's Court wisdom as they make decisions concerning our county. We ask for your blessing and protection over our police department, our fire department, and our EMS, and all the other first responders that serve our county so faithfully. And Lord, in all things, may we give you the glory in all that we do. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Please join us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The Texas flag.
Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible.
Item number 3, presentation of the Washington County Expo Quarterly Report. Mr. Williams?
Good morning, Judge and Commissioners.
Good morning.
All right, so this originally started as 70 pages long, and I condensed it down to 5 to make it as succinct as I possibly could. So as we're looking back, there's a few things I wanted us to go over. So let's talk about this year's fair. Attendance seemed very well received, and here's the numbers of what it really looks like for us to produce the county fair. Our utility bill was up about $2,000 over last year, and that seems to be a consistent trend. Later we'll talk about utilities in this document. And so for staffing, that's $16,000. That covers all of our contract staffing, and that is that awesome janitorial crew that we have, that local family, they come in and clean. That represents about 12 to 15 plus workers that come to us for a little over 2 weeks to make sure everything is in tip-top shape and in good working order for our constituents. This year we hauled away 67 tons of trash, manure, and that is something we're really looking at making an effort to figure out a creative way to recycle and reuse our manure waste. It is one of our biggest expenses outside the fair, and manure composting is really something that we're going to have to look at, and it's becoming a bigger discussion in the fairs industry and in the agricultural event facilities industry as well. So looking back, some of the pros that we're hearing back from folks, people really liked us doing the packed footing in Barn 3 again. So this is where we roll it tight, water it, roll it again. This allows for pelleted shavings for all those heifers. This is our second year doing that. Folks seem to be really happy with that. Everyone's thrilled with the cleaners. The sound system was very well received and continues to be. And then the additional pinning we put in Barn 3 this year at the eastern half, replacing all those holding pins, was very, very well received and continues to be throughout the year. Some issues that we had that I wanted to make note. Air conditioning still seems to be a problem, but I know Mr. Brandon is working on helping us get that all squared away with a replacement plan, which hopefully will be done here by the end of this year or by February at the latest. Our parking lights are something that we need to look at, and the reason that these are somewhat of an issue is we can turn them off, but they don't always come back on during fair, and the reason for that is we're drawing so much power that those lights require a lot of power to initially turn on. The light bulbs are about yay big for those old school light bulbs. We've looked at replacing these, and that's something we need to have a discussion about later in budget next year. Non-net space for vendors and parking. So that picture that is included in that document here. I want to explain what that is. That's a courtesy of Washington County EMS. Thank you, Kevin. And your drone guys. So what you're looking at here is a picture that was taken looking, let's see, that's 297, looking over towards Barn 3, headed out east to look at, it's easier on the digital, so when you guys are at your computers, if you zoom in, you can actually see all the cars that are coming down Bluebell, as well as you can see our impact going in towards the city of Brenham. And if you would like, I have some more pictures of this. They're just very, very large. I wasn't sure if that was something that you guys really wanted to see in greater detail. If it is, please send me an email. But it was interesting this year because we looked really closely to look at our, not just our impact upon the facility, but our impact upon the outlying areas, to see that we are in fact stacking cars almost all the way down here to Main Street when people are parking on busy nights. That's been a really interesting to see, and we're also looking at land utilization for cars during fair. Our utility usage, something we've always tracked, always look at. This year we used about 102,000 gallons more of water than we did over the prior year. I can put that in a graph format, and we only used about 3,000 more kilowatts of electricity, which isn't too bad given the heat that we experienced. Looking back on the year thus far, this is something we're tracking closely. We're looking at the events that we're not able to house. So this is lost potential revenue to our facility of about 209,000. And what this is predominantly coming from is on the personal quince and wedding side, it's predominantly coming from not having the availability, as in the spaces are already booked. We just can't turn them around fast enough, which is great because those folks are also going to all the other local wedding, convention, what other sort of venues around us. So it's great to know that there's that much interest in business in our area. Then the equestrian and livestock components there, those ones are predominantly due to infrastructure requirements. So either our barns can't meet the stalling capacity required, we can't build an arena big enough, or frankly in some cases we don't have enough physical power for all the cows to have their fans and blowers and all the accoutrements that go with. So what I did is, out of all of those, there was 3 that I really wanted to talk to y'all about that took a note of interest to me. This is the first year that we've been approached by, at least since I've been here, by the ABB for the American Brahman Breeders National Show. This is a big show. We quoted them a hefty price. They didn't even blink at the price we quoted. But the ultimate reason that they could not come here is because we could not stall that many steers and heifers, and we could not house that many RVs with what we currently have. And so that is interest to us, to see that we are back on the map for a lot of these larger events and a lot of these larger breed associations, since we fell off for several years there. And to know that we're back on is really a testament and accomplishment to y'all as a court for allowing us the bandwidth to really go forth and do some new stuff. And that's getting recognized throughout the state. So that's a cool opportunity. The AQHA International Cutting Competition. This would have been in partnership with Brazos County up there. We were going to hold a smaller component of it as a day out, but ultimately we didn't have enough infrastructure to support their needs. And then the other one was an invitational cutting series, which would represent about 6 different weekends. And those were just from lack of availability to our facility, as well as not having enough infrastructure in terms of horse stalling and horse capacity. Earlier this year, we held a pretty large cutting, and we had to partner with 6 other ranches in the surrounding area to get all the horses here. And so that's going to be an important thing of note as we proceed with other projects. That we have the interest and the desire for folks to be here, but we're just lacking some of the bits and pieces. So if we make the investment, we'll see a return on that investment. I just am not sure what that is. Looking back at revenue over the year in 2022, we did about $253,000. So far, year to date, we're at 227 with a estimated rough count of 30,000 outstanding. So we will beat what we did last year by a little bit. We're at this point of, I don't believe we can charge any more for our current buildings and infrastructure, so now we're really going to be making a concerted effort on ancillary forms of revenue, which we'll talk about down here. So one of the things that has me a little bit excited is we're evaluating this platform called OpenStalls. It's made here in Texas by a company called Rodeo Logistics. So what this is, it's a stalling management platform. So when, let's say, y'all are coming to us to show your horses, historically it's been on the show manager to do all the stalling, do all the shavings, do all that bit. They're not particularly thrilled with doing that. Some folks, that's just a little bit more than they want to do, so we've been on the honor system, which it's worked for many years. So what this allows us to do is this actually allows us to take over that component and manage it. And next year we should have enough staffing to support this function. So what it'll be able to do is if you're bringing your horses and you actually get to pick your stall that you're at, then we're automatically, you'll pay for your stall rentals there at $20 a night, for example. You'll be there for 2 or 3 nights. And then what we can also say is we're requiring that you buy your shavings from us. And so it's a 3-bag minimum at $10 a bag for shavings that we can bulk purchase here in town at a discount. It's an ancillary form of revenue for us. So we'll hopefully be trying that out. We're still evaluating. It also allows us to manage the RVs as a component, and it costs the county nothing.
That's
It
great.
is free.
Great.
So we love free.
I do.
I know you do. The other thing we're looking at is expanding the RV park, since that is by far one of the biggest notes we get from folks is there's not enough RV plugins, there's not enough RV infrastructure, and we've really looked at it. The city does have an ordinance that says no more RV parks. We were grandfathered in since we were here long before that ordinance was ever a thought. But on average, what we look at, and this is pretty much, this is kind of on the higher side at $20,000 per pad. That's assuming you're pulling all brand new infrastructure for that pad. So if we were looking at just extending what we already have, it would drop that cost down substantially. But that's concrete, electric, water, sewer. So anytime you pull utilities, it costs way more. So I think 20,000 is a good, easy, round, rough estimate based off of what we've researched with an estimated ROI of 10 to 30%, and we would recover that within 5.5 to 6 years optimistically. Realistically, I'd say it'd be a safe bet to say 8. Just depends on volume. So that is something, frankly, if we were ever in a position to just get an RV park dropped upon us, I would say let's jump for it. But until that day happens, we'll have to continue looking at expanding infrastructure. One of the other things we're really evaluating that is a common source of revenue when you go to like wedding venues is food and beverage services, so all that F&B, that catering. Excuse me. So we have a couple options that we can really evaluate that we've looked at. We have what's called like a preferred list, and you can say you can be a part of this list, but if you come to this venue, we take 5%, 10%, 12%, clean off the top of whatever you made at that event. And that varies, right? Depending off of if it's just bulk catered a wedding or they're selling alcohol, you take that up to 18%, and that involves some TABC guidance and other rules. But another option is outsourcing to like Armach or Sodexo. This is really common in a lot of larger facilities. I don't know if that's really the best solution. I think we can do it better locally. And I'm a big believer in staying locally, and we did evaluate looking at doing this in-house, and it is pretty cost prohibitive to set up a whole catering program, and I don't really want to manage that right now with all the other things we got going. The closest to in-house we might be able to get is like a vending machine. So that's about as close as we'll get. I did also want to review some current projects that we have. So master planning is coming along nicely. You would not believe the amount of data we have had to pull and assemble and generate and bring into existence. Looking back 7 years to bring it all has been a time-consuming process, but an educational process for us nonetheless. What I included in here is they will be sending a team of consultants. Hunden Partners is on 11/16, and they'll be here 11/17 as well. So I wanted to go over the rough agenda with y'all. I'll be going they're going to be flying into College Station, with our goal is to make the max use of their time. They'll land, we'll pick them up straight to Brazos County to go look at their facility up there so they get a baseline understanding of what we always get compared to. Is the most competitive venue to us. And Brazos County is more than happy to share. Tentatively, we should be back. We have different stakeholder sessions with our different user groups. And then we plan on doing a open engagement session on the 16th at 6 p.m. Hosted out on our neck of the wood. That will be open to the public, so anybody and everybody can come here, come give their opinions, good, bad, otherwise. It is appreciated. These things are only as good as if you show up and say, we think it's good, we think it's bad, or you don't need anything else, is totally fine. The bathrooms are great, or you need a brand new bathroom structure. And I can only say we need this, but it's better to hear it en masse from all the folks, as well as some of our other lodging partners. We're also in the process of evaluating replacing the LED sign that's on the corner there of Old Independence and Bluebell. The nice thing is the monument, so the actual physical sign itself is still in good shape. That doesn't have to be replaced. That add quite a bit to the price tag. But the metal skirting of it, when in Rome, you might as well replace it. And then a new sign will be roughly in the $55,000 price range. But we're still getting quotes. Sourcewell, one of our favorite group purchasing organizations, just re-signed Daktronics and a whole bunch of other sign organizations. So we will be able to look at some governmental purchasing to get the best price on that as we possibly can, since our current sign is hanging on by a thread. So I also included the final punch list of the sound system. So XLR inputs, that's a round one. It's a little technical, but I thought it's good for y'all to know where we're standing. And we're still on, knock on, I guess this is wood enough, we're still under budget and on time to getting it done. Less one change order in barn one. We're going to have to move some of the speakers just because some stuff shifted, which is fine. It shouldn't be horribly. Even a change order will still be under what we had budgeted. So that miracle never happens ever, but woo, we did it. So I'll bring that back to the court. And then the last thing that we really have to finish up on is access control in cameras. So these are all of our door controllers. We have a couple buildings left to be finished. And then we're also going to need to be installing some cameras in definitely barn 3, barn 1 as well. We've made some infrastructure development, some infrastructure investments in there in terms of scales, paneling, and other stuff that it would be best if it didn't walk off, and if it did, we want to know whom walked off with it, because that does happen sometimes. So, yes, ma'am.
What period does this cover? Is it third quarter, or does it go into October?
Third quarter.
July to September?
Yeah. Touch on October a little bit, but yes, should be the third quarter. And that is it. There is a ton of documentation behind all of this. So if you'd like it in further detail, let me know. But out of respect for your time, I thought I would make it as quick and concise as I possibly could. Any questions?
Real quick, I think for the media's benefit, on 11/16 for part of the master planning, the public engagement session, are y'all planning to hold that at the Expo Event Center?
We are. I wanted to make sure that this schedule works with y'all, and then I'll send Josh, Banner, I'm sorry I haven't met you yet, and everybody else under the sun,
Okay.
Jason, here's what we plan, please push it out free of charge, as well as the chamber. Jamie, I think, will help us push some stuff out there, as well as the city should.
Good.
With all of our lodging partners, one of the meetings we have on there is with all of our local hotels, motels, Airbnbs, VRBOs, to get them all in. Since we do impact those guys the most, we want to make sure that everyone's opinion is heard. If someone feels like they were not heard, then they did not show up.
Okay.
Because we have invested a lot of time and effort in making sure that there's opportunities for the public to speak up. And they can always send us an email.
Well, I sent you some notes so we can discuss at a later date, but I think the majority of it will probably be covered through the master plan.
Yeah.
Cause some of it has to do like with your RV expansion, the ROI and the CapEx involved. But I appreciate you providing, this breakdown for the lost opportunities, which, again, I think the master plan's gonna kinda cover.
It will. So I think just for 23 this year, the full document is 7 pages, 10 pages of here's all the business we lost. I would, don't quote me on this, but last year in 22, I want to say we weren't able to accommodate roughly $150 to $174,000 of lost opportunities. So that number's growing.
Right,
Which-
but I like that you broke it down because
Yeah.
it gives us some direction on where to
And those are
to dig in,
broad
particularly in
breakdowns.
the livestock and the personal,
Mhm.
kind of like a breakdown
Well,
of
you,
that.
you mentioned the American Quarter Horse Association
Mhm.
International, that we couldn't accommodate partnering with Brazos County because we didn't have the facilities to do that. Do you know where they went with that?
So they just did it all up at Brazos County. What they wanted to do is they wanted to have, so they had kids that were coming in from like Switzerland and Norway and Europe into the universe. And what they wanted to do is their main event is up at Brazos, and then they wanted to hold like a smaller fun day, for lack of a better phrase, in a smaller facility, and
We still weren't big enough.
we still weren't big enough, no,
Yeah.
Okay.
which is
Just kinda wondered where the
unfortunate.
competition was. Okay.
but-
All right.
The
That's
only
all
other
right.
thing I wanted to
Mhm.
mention, because you're correct, we have been talking about changing those lights out. I think, what would you, at least for 3 years.
At least, yeah.
So I personally would like to see the numbers and the expense required to do that, because I'm assuming that we'll also realize some cost savings on the utilities. So if we could at least move forward with getting the court the information
Mhm.
so that we can kind of make a decision on, you know, how and if to move forward.
Yeah.
I agree
we can
with
get
that,
to you.
because the fact, I've seen those lights on during the day because you had to do that.
Right.
Uh-huh.
People ask
Questioned
me
about
those
that.
questions
Yeah,
about
we
Yeah.
were wondering.
Yeah, our
Why is those
neighbors,
lights on?
neighbors up the road usually ask, but they all have my cell phone number, so they call. And that's what it's there for.
Because you can't get the power, enough power.
Are there any more comments, discussion about the Expo quarterly report?
None here.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Item number 4, discuss and possibly act upon the approval of pending Washington County Expo rental regulations contracts. This morning we have one of those, and it's for a circus.
I move upon the approval of pending Washington County Expo rental regulation contracts and authorize the county judge to sign.
I'll second.
Motion been made and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Aye.
Was that an aye for or
That was an
against?
aye.
Aye for, okay.
Aye for, sorry.
Okay.
Just delayed.
Okay, motion carried and is approved. Okay, item number 5, presentation of Washington County 911 quarterly report. Ms. Hood, good morning.
Good morning, Judge, Commissioners.
Good morning.
Thank you for having me. I'm going to be a lot shorter than Harrison today. Not a dig, it's just numbers. So,
That's all right, I'm long-winded, it always happens.
So, call volumes continue to be up. From Q3 of last year, we're up 18% overall. Some of that, on page 3, you'll see the breakdown. I think it was Commissioner Bullock that wanted to see calls by agency, the percentage of calls for each agency. So that's a new slide there. 3 and 4 are new for you. 3 being the 2022 Q3. Then a big jump in our call volumes for service are field-initiated calls. We've talked about this before. These are officer-initiated or deputy-initiated calls. So traffic stops, subject stops, being flagged down on something. Those are up 28%. We were at a meeting the other day, and Assistant Chief Powell was saying that they are really pushing their troops to be pre-COVID numbers. They really are driving hard on the officer-initiated calls. So much of crime reduction comes from traffic stops, being out there, they see the officers, they see the lights, They know that they're being proactive, and of course, you're getting warrants, you're getting stolen cars, you're getting guns. So that's going up quite a bit. And on page 6, we talk about whenever we run an inquiry on a person, an article, a gun, a vehicle, those are up 31%. So it's quite a
So
bit.
those are probably directly related to the initiated calls.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
More encounters, so there, and more people in the cars. So years ago, or a couple of years ago, there might have just been the driver. Now you're seeing 3, 4, 5 people in the
They're
car.
doing everyone?
Yes, ma'am.
Is that pretty standard across the
Yes, ma'am.
state?
Call process, I'm sorry?
Okay.
Call processing times on 7, 8, 9, they're really coming down. So what we've started to is every priority 1 call is getting evaluated for QA/QI. So the big push was we have to be faster at what we're doing, and we need to ensure that we're doing it correctly, not just fast, but correctly. So all of those priority 1 calls are being evaluated. The employee that handled the call evaluates themselves, supervisor evaluates it, and then they meet and discuss what could have been done better or what was exceptional about that call.
That's a significant improvement.
Yes, ma'am.
Significant
I,
improvement.
and another thing, briefly, your APCO and Telecom, the
Mhm.
emergency medical dispatching software.
that
It's in, we're tweaking it right now. Kevin's shop, they're going to show us where they want the send, you know, where do they want it dispatched? So once he gets it all together, he'll get with the medical director and they'll say that's how they want it, and then we send it back to APCO. They modify it and they get it loaded in. We're doing, there's not as much room for change as far as fire goes, because you're basically,
Right.
you know where you're going and something's on fire.
Right.
So there's not a whole lot to change with those questions, but we will reach out to the volunteer fire departments and the paid fire department to get their input on key questions that they want and how they want that information given to them when we're dispatching.
Great.
So, again, we talked about call volumes being up. EMS is not up that much from the previous quarter, but you'll see significant increase in, I'm sorry, page. The volunteer fire departments are up 8%, but their response time is down significantly. A year ago, 10 minutes and 17 for a priority 1 call to get them on scene. They're now at 7:45, so that makes a big difference.
Huge difference. Yeah.
Well, and that's still only 1% of total call volume. Volunteer fire departments are only 1% according to your chart.
Correct.
On the second
Yeah.
page.
Mhm.
They're only 1% of our total call volume. So an
Right.
8% increase still did not increase them over the 1%.
No, sir,
Yeah.
It's,
no.
percentages can sometimes be deceiving.
Right.
And when you say 8%, you could end up making people think that there was a huge jump in our call volume as a total.
Correct, but when you have such few numbers, yes, I would agree with that. So
Right.
it's not significant.
But the significant part is overall, call processing times on all calls, priority 1, 2, 3, 4, are all
Yeah.
down significantly.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
And that's us being about as efficient as you can possibly be, because we are getting busier, we're on to the next thing faster.
Right.
And then you look at Washington County, the sheriff's office, their call volumes are up 19%. Again, like you pointed out, Commissioner, it can be a smaller number, so it looks more significant. But their field-initiated calls are up 30% also. So that's a lot of proactive policing that you're seeing. Brenham PD is up 29% for officer-initiated. Blinn, excuse me here. So Blinn Bryan is really increasing their activity. They're up 33%. And I think a lot of it is they have their campuses kind of spread out up there, so they're traveling around a lot. Whereas Blinn in Brenham, it's a little bit more concentrated, so maybe not as much traffic stops, subject stops.
Right. And let me go back.
So, yeah, it's just a constant increase in just about everything. But I think overall, the projects coming on with Intellicom for EMD and emergency fire dispatch is going to make a difference in our quality. It's frequently, or I shouldn't say frequent because that'll be double, but often it's the high acuity, low frequency calls that we run into trouble with. You know, a crash, a heart attack, a fire, things that you take all the time, it's easier. If you had a train derailment or, God forbid, a plane crash, something that you don't handle all the time, that's where that emergency medical dispatch and fire dispatch software really comes into play. I mean, I don't know how many people would think, oh, how many souls on board for any aircraft incident?
Right.
Ours probably would because we handle the aircraft every day. But a train derailment, as far as looking at the placards, how many cars are on it, you know, it's just, thank God they're low frequency, but that's it.
I was going back real quick and just looking at your calls by agency.
Mhm.
You spoke a little bit about Blinn Bryan. Has that increased? Has their call volume increased? Because I
Yeah,
just
so-
see the 12% calls by agency.
Right, so in Q3 of 2022, Blinn and Blinn Bryan
Oh, here
accounted
it
for
is.
18%
Sorry,
of the
I
call
didn't-
volume.
Yeah.
And now we're at 20%
Mhm.
of the overall call volumes.
Yeah, okay, just to.
So
Slight.
where are we with looking at software for the dispatch, for the CAD? Are we still looking at that, or?
We are exploring it, Commissioner. We met with 5
Mhm.
different vendors. They came, and it was really just the department heads at that time.
Mhm.
Actually, later today and tomorrow, we have 2 of the vendors coming back, and that's a bigger audience. The firefighters were invited, the officers, anybody that pushes a button or uses the system was invited to attend today and tomorrow. We're still in the infant stages. We don't have an idea on costs yet. If we decided that something looked good to move forward, there's quite a bit of work, I'm sure most of you that were involved in the previous acquisition, but there's quite a bit of work that goes into it, like what do we need? How many concurrent users do you have? How many mobile users do you have? What kind of mobiles do you prefer? Are you gonna have electronic ticket writers? Just a lot of legwork that goes into meeting with each agency to get that information. And it's then that you provide that to the vendors, and they can tell you, based on these needs, this is what it would cost. In addition to what it would cost, how long is it gonna take to do it?
Right.
If you were gonna do it. The one thing that's crucial that we have talked to every agency that is adamant that we have got to have access to the legacy data without
Right.
logging out of this
Right.
system and into another.
Mhm.
So that's big, is 2 of the companies that we talked to didn't even want to do data conversion. So they were just not, we didn't even consider them.
Have you been involving IT in?
Yes,
Or will
they-
you be involving them
Yes,
in
ma'am.
these meetings?
Either TJ and or Mark
Okay.
has been to each of them, but.
Perfect.
And they have very good IT questions about, their reliabilities at 5 nines. Even TJ, Christmas morning at 2 a.m., how many people are on duty if I call, if I have it at 6?
Yeah.
It's like, oh, okay, so,
Yeah.
but that's where we're at right now on that. Again, don't know if we'll move forward. It's always money.
So basically what you're saying is exploratory, and we may not even change it all. 'cause
Correct.
You did say.
Yes, sir. Mhm.
Okay.
Sounds good. Thank you
Do
very
y'all
much.
have an idea when y'all would, make that?
Well, with
That-
the,
that kind
today and tomorrow are the demos. I would think by the end of next week, we would have a feel for the people that attended, what their thoughts were.
Mhm.
As you know, there's a whole lot of players involved in that. And that was
Right.
why, a lot of people said, well, why didn't you invite everybody in the beginning? Oh my gosh, if we had 100 people, to try and whittle down the 5, you might like 4 of the things, and Commissioner Hanneth only likes 2 of them, and then
Yeah.
we're already in that. Or also, too, you might show somebody something that there's no way you're gonna get.
Right.
And then they're upset, that why'd we even go down that path?
Yeah. Well, ultimately, we just have to make sure that whatever we utilize, whether it's what we currently have or something new, that it's the best fit for most,
Exactly, yes.
because it's not going to be perfect for everyone.
No,
you know.
but I do want to make sure that every agency, every user has input
Has
into,
some, right.
to meeting their needs, so.
Absolutely.
Well, and that, the feedback from the agencies is important because there are probably agencies that have been through
The
the last
previous
conversion.
transition, yeah.
And the last conversion was not well received. by
Or
everyone.
attractive,
Yes.
Yeah.
yes.
I'm sure
Well, and
those
that can be a problem also.
Yeah.
Much like the response plans, the response areas. You remember they weren't really correct in the CAD, so
Right.
those are growing pains, but I think,
Mhm.
knock on wood, I think we have
Yeah.
everything. Yeah, once we get it exactly how we want it, let's change.
Right.
Yeah.
Good input, good output.
Exactly.
Crappy
That's
input,
garbage in,
crappy
garbage
output.
out.
Yep,
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. Well, thank you very much for your time. I appreciate
All
it.
right,
Okay,
thank you.
Item number 6, discuss and update the courthouse chiller. Mr. Braven?
Judge, Commissioners, good morning.
Good morning.
I'm not going to be near that long, but,
Thank you.
hey, real quick, we went out for bids to replace our chiller downstairs, and everything went great. We had 8 vendors jump on it right away, site visits. These guys were really struggling hard. And then Carrier Air Conditioning pulled a fast one on us. They stopped making the model that we were bidding November 1st. And it was supposed to be there till 2025. The revision model is now getting ready to be produced, but they don't have any cost. So we spoke to Mr. Bass and we decided just to back off this bid and suspend it for a couple of months until we get the new version and the new price for the new chiller, and then bring it back to you guys.
So would we have to cancel the bid that we currently have, or the
He
process?
suspended it.
Suspend. Could I-
It's suspended.
Sure.
And then I'll bring back the new information to you guys, say, the new version is the R513A. And I bring that back to you, and he can insert it into the same bid packet with the new scope of work and all that.
513A.
If you don't mind, I'd like to read what Mr. Bass put in.
Sure.
Okay? This is from William Bass, Grant Works. Greetings. This email is to inform you of the cancellation for the solicitation of the chiller. The county has been informed that the R134A version of the chiller that bids were requested for is being phased out, and that the R513A version is not quite available yet. The county will be resoliciting bids for this in the near future when the R513A version is available. Okay. So we wait.
So that there's no requirement in the statute that we cancel
Cancel
the
the bid?
bid and then reopen the bid?
Yeah, I was wondering. the
Because
same
we
thing.
approved to go out for these bids, correct?
Right, he suspended.
Do we have
I
to
don't know
do
that he
anything,
has
Renee, or will it just kind of cancel itself?
I think the court would have to.
Yeah, I was thinking we
suspend
would
it,
have
right?
to,
I'll have to look into that, I don't know, this is the first time hearing
yeah.
We have to table it for now.
it. Yeah, I
Have-
think you're gonna need to
That's what I was,
table it now.
I was thinking the same thing,
What-
yeah.
what-
Well, you only have discuss and update.
Discuss and
We
update,
can-
yeah.
There's no vote today.
No, but I think Commissioner Hannah made a good point. We were
Right.
kind of wondering if we need to have an agenda item that specifically
Maybe
says, it can't
maybe
hurt.
we suspend.
Yeah.
That's what I'm
Not
saying.
Mr.
Yeah,
Bass.
Right.
This is for the cancellation
Yeah.
of the solicitation.
Yeah.
I think we need a motion to.
Even if it's not necessary, it wouldn't hurt,
Can we-
you have
can't
that
do a motion.
paper trail that you.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
So we
Okay.
we possibly
This
need to
is-
put that on next week's agenda.
Okay?
Okay. Moving on, item number 7, discuss and possibly act upon the approval of a bid from the Urban Foresters for tree removal. Bobby?
Well, I drew the unlucky straw for maintenance guys in the history of the courthouse. We have 2 trees over here, these red oaks, and hydropoxin canker disease has set into them. And I've had 3 arborists come in, and they've all 3 recommended the same thing, that those trees be removed. I have Mr. Lee Davis here with me, and also Nick Kemple. He's the bidder, or the lowest price quote, and willing to do the work if you have any questions. And so,
I don't have any
I
questions.
would like, Mr. Davis, you've got a lot of experience in Washington County, and Ms. Tingle, I'm sorry, I'm not familiar with you, but I know Mr. Davis well. Could you explain any other alternative other than removal of these trees?
Boxland canker is a wood decaying fungus. It clogs the vascular system up of the tree where it can't get nutrients or water to the extremities. Thus you see the dieback in the tree. There is no other option.
Okay, let's,
The trees just continue to get worse and worse. And since it's a wood decaying fungus, it breaks down the lignin and cellulose that make up wood cells. And it's gonna start dropping branches.
Right,
And
which is a
with the
liability.
liability you got around here,
big liability.
Absolutely.
We don't
Exactly.
need that.
Well, I just want you to explain that to the court so, and for
Sure.
the
And the
media
media.
to understand there is not another option other than removal of these two big, which were two big beautiful trees at one time, so.
Right.
But the one of them is in really bad condition, and we see the other one is contagious, I suppose. So, well, thank you for your input.
And for the media's information, this is something that's being done, obviously, prior to moving forward with the courthouse landscape project.
that's correct.
And this bid also includes pruning or whatever needs to be done on the rest
hazard
of-
pruning.
on
Right.
the rest of
They're
the
gonna go
trees
around.
throughout any dead limbs, that sort of thing, and the other trees, correct?
And we are working with both these gentlemen on a future plan for the trees in the courthouse square. The annual maintenance, the things we need to do to protect them and keep the rest of them
Healthy.
from that happening.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
No, that's great. And is the project timeline still slated for this weekend? Or,
Possibly.
okay,
I can see.
okay.
Okay, sooner the better, right? Okay.
I make a motion to approve the bid from the Urban Foresters for tree removal.
I second that motion.
I'd like to amend that to the amount of the bid is $7,000.
So move on the amount.
Right, okay. All right, I have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries.
thank you.
Thank you.
Item number 8, discuss the formal notice for water line installation by Corex Utilities along and across the Wellman Road right-of-way, precinct 1. Mr. Stokes?
Good morning, Judge. Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
So we do have an application for a utility installation along Wellman Road. This particular installation would be for a 2-inch water main that would go along 700 foot on the north side of Wellman Road up until 1718 Wellman. This is going to be for a dual service connection for a proposed tract. In this area, the proposed subdivision does meet the exception requirements, so it actually does not need a plat or variance, as they're both going to be over 10 acres. With this installation, there's going to be a 36-inch depth associated with the 2-inch main. There's approximately 7 to 8 foot on the north side of the right-of-way between the edge of pavement to the fence line. They've been instructed to remain 2 foot off of that right-of-way line. There is no existing power poles in that area, so we do not foresee any conflicts with them, and they will be crossing the roadway for the service connection. In that particular area, there'll be a 6-inch bore with casing installed. This is going to be 48 inches of depth. It does meet all of our requirements.
I move upon a formal notice for a water line.
We don't need it.
No.
Sorry.
Oh, that's
Just a notice.
discussed. I'm sorry.
Discussion. Excuse me. Item number 9, discuss and possibly act upon a final plat for Gates Crossing subdivision located along Egypt Lane and Brown College Lane, consisting of 40 lots and 5 roads in the A-0046 William Gates Survey, Precinct 1.
So this is going to be the Gates Crossing subdivision. You've seen the preliminary plat a couple months ago. We've been working on this one for a little while now. The total acreage of this particular subdivision is 1,900 acres. It's very, very large. The minimum acreage size for the lots that are going to be created with this, which is going to be 40, is 14.016 acres. So these are going to be very large tracts. That's going to be the minimum acreage. The maximum lot size for these is 160 acres and some change. It's going to be the largest lot. Does back up to the Brazos River, so there is a sizable portion of these larger lots as well as the reserves associated that is floodplain. However, there is a significant portion that's out of the floodplain that will allow for development. There's 5 roads that are going to be included with this particular subdivision. Old 300 Drive, Amos Court, Gates Trail, Independence Way, and Brazos Bow Drive. A lot of that naming convention was actually off of the founders of our history, so I actually kind of appreciated that. But these are proposed as private roadways, so all of this will be gated. This is going to be private. There is going to be a secondary access point for emergency purposes that will actually go to Brown College, but the main access will be to Egypt. Now, in this particular case, the developers have agreed to dedicate 15 foot of right-of-way along Egypt and Brown College, as well as Goats Trail, I believe it's. I'm drawing a blank there, but 15 foot of right-of-way along each one of those roadways to allow for the county additional improvement accessibility in those areas. I don't think I actually told you, but the average lot size is 31.5 acres, so once again, pretty sizable lots.
Yeah.
We have looked through the covenants of this particular subdivision, and the starting HOA fee for this particular lots for these subdivision is $8,500 per year. So when this does get kicked off, if they're going on a 10-year cycle with all 40 lots, the approximate accrual for the HOA will be approximately $3.4 million. Now, that's actually very close to what the infrastructure cost is for the installation today. So we do believe that they have a good evaluation in terms of their HOA costs. That's kind of one of the hard parts about having private subdivisions with very few lots, is that you're going to have high HOA costs. But we did have that discussion with them that they are going to be able to properly maintain their infrastructure with fees at that level. Now, they do have the availability to increase or decrease based on their projections. So if they do get to a certain point where they're a little bit behind, they can increase, and vice versa. If they have a very strong reserve, they can actually decrease with their covenants. I feel like that's a very fair starting covenants that they're going to be included with this. Otherwise, the only other kind of unique things with this particular subdivision is that there is a cemetery involved in this one. That's going to be approximately 3.1 acres. And then the other portion is that there's a 602 acre reserve, which is going to be utilized for the residents to be able to hunt, fish, camp, whatever it's essentially a common area for the subdivision. The only reason I even noted it, because it's very common in most, is it's 600 acres, right? But otherwise, we've worked with them pretty substantial in this. We've already had some pre-construction meetings to go through what inspections and submittals are going to be required for the county, because this is going to be built to county specifications or greater. And I do believe that this is everything has been met and we are good to go.
Well, they have to have a reserve.
Yes,
It's
they
all
do.
in the floodplain.
Yes.
I move upon the final plat for Gates Crossing subdivision located along Egypt Lane and Brown Cottage Lane, consisting of 40 lots and 5 roads in the A0046 William Gates Survey, Precinct 1.
So I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
So all of these roads are gonna remain private
Private.
roads, correct?
Yeah.
Correct.
And so at these intersections, it looks like they're roundabouts.
Mhm.
It doesn't look like.
They are roundabouts. Whenever we were doing our design, one of the things that I conveyed to them, because we do not have county specifications for roundabouts,
Right.
is we went ahead and worked with TxDOT specifications for roundabouts. So this is designed to TxDOT
Okay.
regulations.
Oh.
Not for surface, that's our regulations, but in terms of the dimensions, signage, that's all meeting TxDOT regulations.
Okay.
And they're still gonna meet our minimum standard, even though they're private?
Yes, they're gonna be
Okay.
meeting our standards across the board.
We just don't want another, what's it called? Pecan Glen
No,
situation.
that's why we've
I
been
don't
very,
anticipate
very,
that for, you know,
stringent with
Something
this
of
one, is
this-
just to make sure that they have not only a good starting point, but also have the
Yeah.
financial
And
means
the
for the future.
HOA to take care of these things.
So the HOA, is the deed for the HOA 20 years?
I don't remember
Because
that
most
off the
of
top
these
of my head.
HOAs are only 20 years old.
They're only 20 years.
So if they don't renew the HOA, it becomes a problem for the county.
The only
It
thing
becomes
that's
a
good
problem
in
for
this
them, too.
regard
Yeah.
is that I think that they're gonna see the necessity of having an HOA. I think one of the things that can get convoluted sometimes with an HOA is what exactly an HOA does, right? With these being privately gated subdivision, the only alternative is for these, I'm just gonna say it, $1-2 million homes that are probably gonna be developed in this particular subdivision, is for those roads to deteriorate, or they're going to have to try and open them up to the public and try and go that route. Either option, I think that they view very less than actually maintaining those roadways. That said, it is a very possibility that they could petition the court in the future. And at the same time, it's gonna be in the exact same boat anyone else would be, that they would have to improve those roadways.
Okay. We have a
Yeah.
motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Motion been made and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Item number 10, discuss and possibly act upon the placement of Sunset Hills Estates into the 1-year maintenance period and reducing the bond by 50%. Roads affected include Sunny Hills Drive, Sunny Meadows Drive, and Sunshine Court, Precinct 2.
Yes.
Before you start on this,
Sure.
question, you commented on the road names in the previous discussion on this other plat. These names, Sunny Meadow Drive, Sunshine Court, and Sunny Hills, seem to be, that would be confusing in a, do we have any approval of these names of the roads, or is it
Yes.
just?
So whenever this was approved at the end of last year, that does go through our addressing coordinator for verification. We do allow similar names up to 5. That would be Sunny, Sunshine, those particular aspects. In this particular case, it did fall under in terms of similar,
They
sun,
both start with
sunshine.
sunny.
Right.
Sunny, see, that's what I'm saying, Sunny.
Right.
You know, I can hear dispatch giving that, and somebody just hearing Sunny, which one was it, you know, it's, I think we need to really, I know what the regulations say, but we really need to be very careful not to have confusing, what could be in some emergency situation where somebody goes to the wrong road, for instance, you know, just, anyway, just wanted to point that out.
What we'll do is we'll look and see if there's some ways that maybe we can modify that it doesn't overly restrict the name conventions, but also would allow for more
I think it needs to be
unique
reevaluated.
options as well.
Okay, go ahead.
Yes, so this final plat was approved in court at the end of last year, and we've been working through the construction process over the course of that time frame. With this one, we've gone through all of our inspections, we've had all of our testing submittals, we've verified everything. They've had to go back and do a couple small things as part of the process from our inspections, but they have met all of those, and at this point, we are ready to recommend approval of the infrastructure from the initial acceptance into the 1-year maintenance period.
Okay. I make a motion to place Sunset Hills Estates into the 1-year maintenance period and reduce the bond by 50%. Roads affected include Sunny Hills Drive, Sunny Meadow Drive, and Sunshine Court, Precinct 2.
I second that motion.
Motion been made and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Item number 11, discuss and possibly act upon the approval to remove Mr. Brian Sheffer, Brenham Assistant Fire Chief, and Mr. James Hufty, Brenham ISD Head of Security, from the Brazos Valley Council of Government Homeland Security Advisory Committee, and appoint Mr. Stephen Eilert, Brenham Police Department Administrative Sergeant, and Mr. Mark Pennybacher, Washington County Citizen on Patrol, to the Brazos Valley Council of Government Homeland Security Advisory Committee. It's very obvious the reason for the removals. Mr. Sheffer is no longer be serving as he'll be an interim, but he is willing to step down. And of course, Mr. Hufty is no longer employed by Brenham ISD. So those are the removals, and the other 2 gentlemen have agreed and actually asked to serve on this committee.
I make a motion to approve the removal of Mr. Brian Sheffer, Brenham Assistant Fire Chief, and Mr. James Hufty, Brenham ISD Head of Security, from the Brazos Valley Council of Government Homeland Security Advisory Committee, and appoint Mr. Stephen Eilert, Brenham Police Department Administrative Sergeant, and Mr. Mark Pennybacher, Washington County citizen, on patrol to the Brazos Valley Council of Government's Homeland Security Advisory Committee.
I second that motion.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussion? I will point out that the city of Brenham approved both of these as well for their people. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried. Item number 12, discuss and possibly act upon a resolution of the taxing unit name casting votes for election of the Washington County Appraisal District Board of Directors. I'm sure you have that in your packet. Yes. Trying to see what the total number of votes we have. Those are the total number of votes that we have, and we divide them up between the candidates as in our custom in the past.
So the candidates are Joe Ankoviak, Leslie Vandeman Jr., Douglas Bellhart, Charles Gascamp, Haley Stark Kalkaki, and John Shear.
John Shear. Votes cast, you want to add that to that?
I can add that.
Okay.
The votes cast for Joe Ankoviak were 218, Leslie Vandeman 218, Douglas Bellhart 218, Charles Gascamp 218, Haley Stark Kalkaki 217, and John Shear 217. I make a motion. Do I need a motion?
Yes.
I make a motion to approve the resolution of taxing unit name casting votes for election of the Washington County Appraisal District Board of Directors.
I'll second.
Motion been made and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried. Item number 13, discuss and possibly act upon the approval of accounts payable.
I'm a lot shorter than the rest. This week, we're paying $191,669.32 in bills. There's a couple of things. There's the mowing for the right-of-way, which is good to know because that looks so much better. There's some rifle sights, I believe is what they are, that they're taking out of this donation account at the sheriff's office. Other than that, just our normal maintenance type things.
I'll move upon the approval of accounts payable.
I'll second.
Motion been made and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried. Item number 14.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I second that motion.
Motion been made and seconded. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. We are adjourned.